On this week's episode, I'm excited to bring on Kevin Kepple as a guest. Kevin is the host of Unlock Your Freedom podcast and is a Gallup-certified Strengths Coach who has helped thousands of professionals look inside themselves to find clarity, discover what they love, and live the life of freedom. Now he's here to help you do the same. Through weekly episodes, Kevin provides step-by-step training, coaching, and accountability to leaders who want to take their life and business to the next level. Introducing Gallup-certified Strengths Coach and Unlock Your Freedom podcast host, Kevin Kepple. Welcome to the show, everyone. On today's episode, I'm excited to have Kevin Kepple join us. Kevin is a business coach and leadership educator. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on, Vijay? Glad to be here, man.
Hey, it's so great to have you. You told me you're from Texas, and I just got to hear, how do you end up in Texas, and does your business only involve Texas, or do you do business everywhere?
Yeah, we only work with cowboys and people who live on ranches. That's all Texas is, right? I ended up here because that's where the great creator decided to birth me. Many moons ago, I was born actually not too far down the street from where I live now. My family and my friends are here. I travel a lot, and I lived in actually Chicago for a few years. So this is home base though, so I keep coming back here. But we were talking before we got started. You're in North Carolina, and I really want to move to the mountains. So I've really been thinking about either Arizona, which aren't maybe mountains, but they got some cool rocks to climb, or Washington. But Texas for now.
Hey, that's great. Well, that's wonderful. So tell us more about what you do. I want to hear your story. You said you were in Texas pretty much your whole life, but tell us about your story. How do you get into entrepreneurship? How do you start your business? I want to hear it all.
Yeah, sure. So, basically like most entrepreneurs, I'm fairly unemployable, right? So I don't really do well with being told what to do, but I didn't, own that for a long time. And I went to college like we all, lots of us do, right? Because that's what you do. You go to college and get a degree and work for 30, 40 years. And maybe you get to be happy once in a while. And then hopefully you were good at, money on the way, and you get to retire, and that's it. Right. And, nobody wants that deal anymore. And I remember sitting with, at college, talking to the advisor or whatever, when you're picking classes. And, I had a general major when I started, because I had no idea. I had no idea what I want to do. I want to help people. How do you help people? I don't have to go to college to do that. Right. And I just remember the guy looking at me. He's like, well, do you want to do business? I was like, sure, doing business. What does that even mean? And so long story short, I got into strategic management, and my minor was entrepreneurship, because I knew that I wanted to start something on my own. And I was always looking for ways to make things better, make people better. And I didn't realize that was actually a profession for a long time. But I worked in the hospitality industry for a number of years. And a friend of mine and I we're going to open a restaurant group and do all this cool stuff. And after, being kind of like a district manager for a restaurant where I worked at different concepts for, a few months at a time, I realized I really didn't want to do that at all, much less, the rest of my life. I didn't want to do it one more day. That's just not for me. And my friend's actually successful in that still, and shout out to him, but it's just not for me. And so I got into sales, and worked in enterprise software sales first. And, that's a great industry. It's really lucrative, and you get to help people just have a better work environment. What a gift to give somebody who's totally frustrated, the ease and peace of upgraded software. And, there wasn't a lot of passion for that, really, because, for 6 months, I had no idea what I did. Even what do you do? I was like, man, I sell this thing, but I come back later for details, and I just couldn't really get myself excited about it. But I did it fairly successfully for a few years. And then I switched over to a different industry, and it was another sales role, and financial services, so similar to space you're in. And I had success there as well. And I got, what do you get when you're successful? You get promoted, regardless of your leadership expertise. And I had leadership positions before, so I had a little bit of know-how. And I was just really frustrated, because one day I closed a case, got a big check. Not a big check like on TV, I didn't win the Masters, right? I got a direct deposit that was a sizable amount to me at the time, at least. And I couldn't find any joy in it. And I just remember thinking, I was like, man, if there was multiple commas in this number, that's a lot of money. Yeah, but I don't think I'd be that happy either. That, no amount of money is going to make me happy. And I felt really hollow and really distraught, if that's the word. And I was working with a business coach at the time, because I'm always looking for ways to, be better, faster, smarter, or whatever the case may be. And my business coach was a pretty cool guy. He was in the Secret Service for almost 30 years and had this way of looking right through you, especially when you weren't like, maybe shooting. I was lying to him. I didn't know what the truth was. Right. And he's like, what do you like about your job? And I was like, well, I love this and I love that. And he like cuts me off and he goes, man, I'm not even sure you like your job, dude. He's like, you won't even look at me in the eye. Your tone, your body language is like really off. I was like, well, okay, some things could be better. And I really figured out that I really like helping people be more, without making them feel like less, and helping people just, be more the, the greatness inside of them, and not winning my way, but just stepping into whatever their superpowers may be and all that good stuff. And long story short, my coach is like, you should be a coach. And I got a job with a global company as a sales and leadership coach nationally for them. And did that for a few years, and I realized that's what I really wanted to do, but I wanted to do it my way. And so I stepped over and started the side hustle, and the side hustle started outpacing the normal hustle. And finally convinced my wife that like it was safe. Like if up to me, I would have left a long time before. But finally, she's like, okay. I was like, and if I leave, like this, the closer was like, I'll be able to make more if I leave. And that's what safety and security she wanted to hear, which is good because she can rein me in because I can be a little too philosophical and not enough pragmatic sometimes, possibly. And man, that was a number of years ago, and now I'm here and I get to work with people in a number of different ways. I have one of my favorite things to do is I have a mastermind for business owners and executives that want to be around other, just powerful pros that are elevating, co-elevating together towards really just their version of amazing. And God, I love being a part of that. I mean, just being a fly on the wall is awesome, but I love facilitating and hosting that, and just seeing these people who are crushing it. It's really unlock these new levels and change the way they think about limits. And I do a little bit of one-on-one coaching still, but then I do some work with a few different companies and have a couple of coaches that work for me and support me. And so we work with some companies like the executive team all the way through the management level on leadership education and just helping them really own their strengths. One of the tools we use is Gallup's Clifton Strengths Assessment. And, I've certified in that for a few years now. And it's so amazing to me. I've seen thousands of reports, from Strength Finders now, or it's called Clifton Strengths now. It used to be Strength Finders, but they rebranded in the middle of the pandemic because that's what you do when you have a good product, right? You rebrand. That's a joke. They're free today. But anyways, it's the same exact assessment. And, it's so wild. I've seen thousands of these assessments, and there's always 34 talents on it. It's always there. There's never been a blank one. Like, nope, you don't have any talent, right? But what's rare is people who have developed that into these like superpowers they can use on demand, because, you get this report, you had these strengths long before you took this assessment. It's just showing you the patterns of your exceptional elite behavior. And I've worked with, like I said, thousands of people on this report, and I'll go back to, whoever and like, hey, tell me your top 5. They start looking through their phone or looking through their computer. I'm like, dude, like these are your superpowers. Don't you think you should take the time to memorize them? Like, if we meet Superman and he has to look at his phone to tell you that he can fly, that's going to be awkward. And, it's not that like we don't want to be better. It's just there's so much noise coming at us. And I think one of the really powerful things I get to do for people is just help them focus on the things they do want and clearing out the things that are stopping them and slowing them down from getting that.
Kevin, thank you so much for sharing that. Honestly, so I met you less than 15 minutes ago, and I already have incredible energy from you. I'm learning a lot, and I could tell you are a leader. You are the person that people look up to. You're the gatherer of everyone. So I want to take this conversation a million different ways, but just for interest of time, let's focus in on the leadership side. You mentioned Gallup's and Strengths Finders. For those in the audience who are not familiar with either of those, could you briefly talk about what they are?
Sure. So Gallup is the organization that created this assessment called Strengths Finder, and they've rebranded it. Like I said, it's called Clifton Strengths Assessment now. It's the exact same thing. You can Google search either one. Gallup has been around since the early 1900s. They used to collect like farm data when they started. They're really, really good at data. And so they've given this assessment like 33 plus million times. Last time I saw the number, which was a few months back. So more than 33 million times. They got a ton of data. And what it identifies, it's not a complete portrait of your character like some assessments, like Myers-Briggs or something like that. It's your natural talents. And what they mean by your natural talents are the patterns of behavior where you have the most energy, and you have the opportunity for these extremely high levels of performance when combined. And man, probably one of the most powerful concepts in the whole Strength Finders assessment to me is the balcony and the basement, which is pretty simple. Like when I'm in the balcony with my strengths, that's how I'm like serving in the most positive, productive way. And when I go into the basement, it's like I've gone to war with myself basically. And the power that I have is like inverted, and I'm just kind of destroying myself from the inside out. And so, for instance, like the top strength for me is called maximizer. And maximizers it's all about mastery. And like, we love finding things that are working really well and just taking it to elite, like whatever that looks like, whether it's, a story we're writing or a sport we're playing or somebody we're coaching. And, what does, this next level awesomeness look like in this person, this idea, this event, this whatever. That's the balcony, right? Helping people just see what their superpowers are, expanded, et cetera, et cetera. The basement is, you're so fascinated with excellence that if you see something average, whether it's like yourself or someone else, it can be very almost discerning. It's like, how'd you even get your shoes on today? And that's no way to talk to yourself or other people, right? And just expecting like this just extremely high level of performance in every single thing you do. And that's like looking for perfection, basically. And, perfection is this like impossible like request because, nothing's perfect. That's an opinion.
Got it. Okay, thanks so much. And I love that analogy you used about Superman. It's like, hold on, let me make sure I can fly. That's actually incredible. So, is it possible to find out your strengths without necessarily going through this, or does this just make it 20,000 times easier?
Man, I love a cheat sheet for, and this is a cheat sheet to your genius. So it's $50, and you can find $50 like somehow, because it's going to show you, hey, here's what your version of exceptional looks like. And it's really cool because the likelihood that two people would have even the same top 5 in the same order is 1 in 20 something million. So it's very, very rare that somebody is going to have the same top 5 as you. And if they did, the 6, 7, 8, 9 would be different. So you're going to show up completely different because of that. And we all know that we're all different people, but one of the really cool gifts this tool gives us, it also gives us a cheat sheet into the way that other people see the world. My older brother and I are 2 years apart, but we might as well be 50 years apart. Like, he's my best friend and one of my heroes, and I love him, but he's a completely different person than I am. He's always been just stoic and wise and mature. I always joke, like, dude, you were born like 70 years old, like you were responsible. You're just like knew stuff and like had a bank account when he's like 7, and just very methodical and patient with everything. And like, deliberative is a strength of his. It means he assesses every risk before he gets started and checks all the boxes. Then he executes, and he can execute still quickly, but he just doesn't make a lot of mistakes because of that. And I have activator, and activator is like, dude, I just want to jump off the cliff, build my wings on the way down, like Johnny Carson said. And our approach is more like ready, fire, aim, as opposed to ready, aim, fire. And I used to, what do? We compare ourselves to other people. And I used to feel like inferior, like, oh, I can't do what he can do. But then I took this and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to do that. And the way I'm doing it's actually really effective. And like, not that we need it, but like, it gave me more permission to be me. And that was like really cool. And, I kind of mentioned I was in financial services, and Excel is not something I've ever enjoyed. I feel like I should be better at Excel, in this profession. And looking at my strengths, like, no, like it wouldn't even make sense. It doesn't line up with your genius. And so just kind of letting go of needing myself to be a certain way to be okay. And that's the result I've seen for so many people. It's just really, really powerful, to, unlock, peace and ease and flow in your life like that.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'd like to switch this conversation a little bit more to a team setting. And so let's say you are a leader. Let's say you have 5 people reporting to you. What is the best way to utilize the Strengths Finder assessment to get your team to be in the best shape possible?
Yeah, that's a great question because, like I said, it's great for understanding yourself. But when it comes to other people, it may be one of the best things I've ever found to just really not just see where other people are coming from. Like, we put ourselves in other people's shoes, but we look at the world as us through their eyes. That doesn't really serve us as much as it could. It doesn't really create a lot of compassion or empathy. But when I really see the world through your eyes with your talents and your gifts, I get so much understanding of why you do what you do. And I also understand, what you're really saying. What's the energy behind the words you're giving me? And what kind of words, and ideas do I need to present to you? Because if you see somebody like me, with activator really high, you don't want to use a lot of words because I'm going to get bored and I'm going to quit paying attention. I might be smiling and nodding, but I'm not listening, right? Like, I want to, but I'm just not built that way. And, if you see somebody that has deliberative really high, like my brother was talking about, he's going to want the details. Like, if you go too quick, the answer is no. Even if he wants it, it's like, no. And it's just him, right? Like, it's not good or bad. It's just the way it is. And as a leader, it's really helpful to understand where people are coming from. And then what kind of words do I need to use to really motivate them at the highest levels? And it allows you to really satisfy that, something I like to call the influence equation, like John Maxwell, the leadership, godfather of leadership, right? He said, leadership is influence. And so the influence equation, 3 things: trust, connection, and vision. Trust, connection, and vision are so important, but most leaders, especially like newer leaders, and myself included, when I was first leading than anything. It was, we start with vision. We're like, hey, here's where we're going. Let's go get it. And then, maybe people go, maybe not. They're not connected though. And so there's not like as much co-creation as you want. But when you work to build trust with people, it's so crucial, right? Because if I trust you, that means I feel safe. And if I feel safe, that means I'll be vulnerable. And the only place that's going to, really create any kind of creativity is when people are vulnerable. Because if I don't feel safe, I'm not going into the unknown, and I'm not going to be creative because that's a little bit risky. But when I feel safe around you and I trust you and I know what's important to me is important to you, that's when I start to feel connected to you. And that's when I start to feel connected to the vision that you have. And, helping me understand how using my specific strengths, achieve the team goal, whatever that may be, the company's mission, how that helps me get what I want, and how that satisfies my strengths. And it's a really powerful thing because when people are connected to you and they trust you and, you're affirming them through their strengths, that's when people start co-elevating together and co-creating together. And like, if you want to create high levels of performance in a team, it's like they have to grow as individuals and they have to grow together as a team. And when people see each other, this granularly, it builds so much empathy and compassion, and it just builds patience too. And, like, what gets recognized gets improved. When I'm, hey, Vijay, the way that you're such a phenomenal listener, you make me feel really heard, right? Like, whatever gets recognized, that's what gets improved. And, like, you're pretty phenomenal at affirming, because like every time like I get done talking, you like have really like genuine, honest feedback. And that's cool, man, because you're really present and you're creating that environment. So it makes me trust you. And now I feel connected to you. And I'm like, let's go get your vision, man, whatever it is.
That's incredible. So you're basically saying using connection and empathy and just kind of breaking down that barrier, you're able to connect better with other people you work with, both on a professional and personal level, therefore able to create something better together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about right now, like, especially, all the excitement we had recently, so many people just got disconnected. They were, maybe working from home or whatever it was. And like, for starters, I can't give what I don't have. If I'm disconnected from myself, like, I can't connect with other people. Right. And like, when I have this like path towards, my like natural tendencies of high performance, like, that's how I connect really deeply, because, we all have talent, right? Again, that's not rare though. What's rare is people who have developed these talents into superpowers and can use them on demand. Like, I'm left-handed. And at some point when I was a little kid, my mom or whoever was like, hey, you're left-handed. And once they explained to me what that meant, I learned how to write. And, my writing proficiency stopped pretty much after I learned. Like, I write about the same as when I learned, like, I'm not in calligraphy or anything cool like that, but that's okay. I'm not, a professional, calligraphist or whatever you would call that. And I don't need to be in, the elite levels of that. But when it comes to my natural talents and patterns of behavior in the world, especially, professionally, I want to make sure I understand how to maximize those. And, it's either we're progressing or we're regressing. It's no stay the same.
Absolutely. So let's I want to back up a little bit. You were talking about towards the beginning of this. You were talking about making that switch from a job which you weren't necessarily happy with into full-time entrepreneur, and you said you had to get kind of permission from your wife and family, kind of make sure everything was good. Tell me about that process. How was it breaking out of your job to doing this full time?
Man, it was pretty seamless, but I think part of that is the ready, fire, aim, the activator. Like, I don't need a lot of information to get started on things. Like, it's kind of like, don't insult me with instructions. I might have to come back and ask for them later. I just don't want to be slowed down. And so I just started doing some coaching and then consulting and working with people on the side to make sure that's what I actually wanted to do, and started building the business. And I built it over 6 figures pretty quick. And I told myself that I could do both as long as I could do both at the highest level I could do it. And as soon as I wasn't able to show up with my best at either one, then that's not in line with my character and my values. And I don't think I got near that point really, but it got to the point to where it was creating stress just because I was either working or gone, working on one or the other. And I just think that you got to like make the best bet you can ever make, and it's on you, right? I know what I'm capable of, and I've never, I'm not going to quit, right? Like, it was hard, sure, but I can do hard things just like everybody else that's listening. We can all do hard things, and just, like, I think the biggest thing was detaching from the outcome, not like getting too fixed on, well, I can't see it, right? Okay, cool. That's what creation means. You're creating something that doesn't exist. You're bringing something in the world that has yet to be seen. And just, man, like, like, your inner knowingness is very powerful. And like, when it's a really bad idea, like, should I go play on the highway during rush hour? No, like, the inner knowingness is like, no. But, like sometimes with like a person or an idea, we're just getting that strong pull towards it. And, insight, intuition, it's very subtle, but the more you listen to it, I feel like the louder it gets. The ego is the screamer. That's the one. It's like wants all the attention for no work. And just really having conversations and being present with my wife and listening to her concerns, because we're very different when it comes to risk. I'm on the the red side, and she's on the safe, warm green side. So just honoring her, and what she needed to be okay.
That's great. It's all about open communication. So when you were scaling up your business to six figures, and the reason why I'm asking this is because this is an entrepreneurship podcast. A lot of people listening are in the process of either getting started or they already have a business. How did you grow your business to six figures quickly? What were some things that you realized, holy crap, this worked, you should definitely do this? Or what were some things, oh yeah, I made a giant mistake, I'd be at seven figures if I did not do this?
Yeah. Well, gosh, hopefully there's not one of those. But I think one of the things we could all do sooner in business is to get help. Just especially with the things that you don't want to do, like building my website. Like I will find so many other things to do before I do that, and then I'll do a bad job when I do get to it. And so just outsourcing the things you don't want to be doing. And like one of the strengths on Strength Finders is discipline, and it's not necessarily like discipline like waking up at 4 doing push-ups. It's more about routine and structure, like systemizing whatever in your life that you're repeating, I guess. And it's like if I'm doing something more than once, I probably need a system for it, right? Like every time I get in my car, I get in pretty much the same way, right? I get in the driver's side door. I don't crawl in the back sometimes. I don't crawl in the passenger door, right? Like I just get in, start the car, I put a seatbelt on, I roll out. It doesn't need to be complicated. I don't need to make a new decision every time. And so really figuring out where I need systems in my business and looking for somebody that's farther along the path than me that resonates with me, and not looking at other people for replication. I think that's one of the things a lot of people do. They try to replicate other people's version of success. And creativity doesn't repeat itself, but it can rhyme, right? And so I'm looking at them for inspiration, not replication. And so what are other people doing? And, how do I feel about that? What excites me about that? And like, I love Stephen Kotler is one of my favorite writers. And he talks about, flow and peak performance and peak experiences and all that. But to get into the game of that, you got to have motivation. And he breaks down drive so well because he talks about the full intrinsic motivational stack and drive, which is curiosity, passion, purpose, autonomy, and mastery. And so really figuring out like how to line those up, curiosity, like what am I curious about here? And with passion, where's the love? Where's the joy? Purpose? How am I mixing generosity into this? And then autonomy, do I have freedom? And what's restricting that? And then mastery, how am I getting better? And I think really staying in that place and again, detaching from the outcome and not taking things personal that aren't personal. If somebody says no to me, that's performance. Cool. They don't want whatever I'm offering. It's not personal. They don't want like not me and whatever. It's none of my business what other people think anyways. Everybody's not for me and I'm not for everybody. But I think one of the things that we could all do too is really step into our voice. And that means like taking a stand on the things you believe in. Because if you're pandering to average, pandering to the middle, well, you're never going to be exceptional because, if you want to be above average, you have to treat yourself above average. And part of that is, standing up for what you believe in. And I'm not saying make it political by any means, or, if that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. But I just mean, like, what do you believe? What don't you believe? And, we don't all have to think the same things. And there's so many different ways to get towards, whatever our version of amazing and impossible is.
So that's wonderful. So it's all about leaning into your strengths, figuring out what you don't want to do, outsource it if you can, and just go 100% with your strengths. So let's say you're an entrepreneur, you don't have much resources, you have to do everything yourself. What is your advice for someone who to get rid of those skills in the basement, right? So they can live in that balcony.
Yeah, so that's one of the most asked questions, whether it's one-on-one when I teach strength finders in a group, like how do I get out of the basement? Like, it's really simple. Like, stop making it all about you, right? Because like pretty much all times we have two options. We have the option of choosing fear, or we have the option of choosing love. And if you think about like everything you've ever done in your life, one of those two motivated you towards it. And fear can wear hats, right? Anger, guilt, shame, apathy, remorse, etc. But anytime I do that, that's all like forceful, ego-driven behavior. And that's going to give me, the basement, right? Where I'm looking, to do things because of some external force, probably like I want to do this to make other people happier, so I don't feel bad or so I don't get criticism. But, choosing love over fear, that's a skill we all have to develop. And it's moving from resistance to acceptance. It's like, am I reacting or am I creating? Like those are our two options. And when, you're choosing love, like, that's cool. And a lot of times it's like, how can I make this about other people? And, what do they need? And that's really cool, because when I'm focused on other people, I don't have time to worry about what everything means to me and get all sideways about it. And that's been a pretty helpful guide for a lot of people.
Wow, so you're here looking to serve, help other people, not looking at your ego and figuring out what you need. You're here to deliver as much value to the world as possible.
Yeah, and just stop taking yourself so damn seriously, like, have a little fun, right? Because, man, things feel so, magnificently important that aren't, like, I mean, whatever is. And when you can learn to accept that, like, that eliminates, time travel, right? Like, when you go to the past and you start just getting guilt and depression because you can't do anything about it, or you get stuck in the future and you get anxiety because you can't do anything about that either. Like, man, just learn to live in the present moment, because you're going to miss out on life. And, like, I'm talking to Kevin here. I've found myself in the past, like, rushing through things I enjoy to get to something I don't even want to do. Right. It's like, dude, just sit back, man. Like, this is the one life you get to live. Let's enjoy that dash.
Wow, so powerful. Could we go a little bit deeper into your business from an entrepreneurial standpoint? Let's say someone wants to start a coaching business. What can they do to take action to get their first client?
Well, I mean, obviously, you really think about what kind of transformation that you want to make for people, and, stay out of the basement, right? Make it about them. Nobody likes when somebody calls them and tells them all about themselves, right? Like, hey, Vijay, I'm a coach, and here's what I do, and here's why I'm awesome, and here's all the places I've been, here's all the things I've done. Like, here's how much it cost. What's your credit card number? And you're like, he hung up like 5 minutes ago, right? Because if you're not, like, clearly focused on me, then how are you going to help me get what I want, right? Like, coaching is really pretty simple when it comes to it. You're looking, how can I empower and how can I inspire this person that I'm coaching to go get whatever it is they told me they wanted? And so if I'm looking to get started, like, okay, what's the transformation I want to make for people? Let's say that you're a weight loss coach. Just make it up. Like, I want to help people lose weight. Like, cool. Like, okay, like, who's doing this successfully? And, like, what kind of things are they saying? What kind of things are they not saying? And then, talk to your friends. Like, probably not as a weight loss coach, like, hey, can I coach you on losing weight? That might be a tough conversation, but maybe just, being open and honest with people, like, that you meet wherever you meet people, like, hey, this is something I'm getting into. Do you know anybody that I could serve with this? And potentially you could do, like, when I got started, I'd do strategy calls. I'd do a 30-minute call with people, and it was just to help them get really clear on what they wanted and why they wanted it and what's stopping them. And if nothing else, they walked away with so much clarity and so much more, horsepower towards what they were doing. I got to help them, and then I got to get better at doing what I was doing. And more times than not, they would, sign up if the timing was right, because they saw how much I could help them. But at the very least, I helped them, even if they didn't have the, money or the timing or whatever. And I got better at saying what I was saying, doing what I was doing. And so that's a great way to start. And then, just ask people, like, hey, who else do you know? Who else do you know that I could serve? But you've got to be, true and like, coming from that place of service, and not like about making money, because people can feel that, and that doesn't feel good. I don't want to be a number. I want to be treated with humanity.
I think that's such an important concept. Don't treat people like, oh, how am I going to get this next sale? It's about, how do you serve them? How do you provide genuine value? And I think that's incredibly important. So something you said stuck out to me about reaching out to your friends and kind of giving them free advice or coaching. But at what point do you convert that to a paid service? If that makes sense, right?
Yeah, man, I don't think I was very clear. Like, I wouldn't reach out to the friends, because people will take free all day long, right? But I think just talking to your relationships or professionally, wherever you go to network with people, and you could talk to friends too, but just like, hey, here's what I'm kind of getting into. Do you know somebody that could benefit from what I'm doing? And, just keeping it super high level with that, not necessarily trying to give people advice. Nobody wants to be called up and given advice to. But, I'm not, I mean, there's so many different types of ways to network. Maybe you're meeting people, like, traditional networking, whatever, or on LinkedIn, or, however you're connecting with people, and just talking to people and asking other people for ideas. There's no, like, wrong way to do it. But if you get into that free zone, it can be dangerous, because there's a lot of people that like free, and they'll take, as much as you'll give them. And you don't always get the same feedback from a free as you would from somebody who's paying, because there's really a different drive behind it. Because when you've got skin in the game, you just show up different. You show up, way more intentional. And even if it's a small amount of money, it's like, people put down $50, they'll show up completely different as opposed to somebody who's free, right? the free might not even show up half the time. And then you start personalizing it like it's your lack of, experience or whatever. It's not about you, just, continually getting better. And just, there's no story with that, right? Not like a story of you being bad or good or whatever. It's just like, how can I be better today? Studying people that you look up to, connecting with people that resonate with you, and just, sharing humanity. I don't know if that's a great answer, but I mean, that's basically how I did it.
I think so. Thanks so much for sharing that. And this kind of brings me to the next point. Could we talk more about premium pricing and how you can position yourself kind of more as a leader in the industry? Because you know who your competitors are, right? You do leadership coaching. I'm sure there are a handful of other people who do the same thing. What can you do that positions yourself better by offering more services or by increasing your prices? Or how do you recommend that people getting started in this industry position themselves pricing wise?
Yeah, I think when you said there's a handful of other coaches, by handful you mean like handful to the like 100th power, right? And there's like one on every corner. With they replaced the phone booths with coaches, but like I think the best thing you can do is just own your uniqueness, and that's one of the great gifts you're going to get with Strength Finders. Like I don't get affiliate fees or anything like that from Strength Finders. I just think it's such a phenomenal tool. I've seen it changed my life, and I've seen it change so many other people's lives for the better. People that were already super successful when I started work with them. I work with multiple CEOs that have 7-figure businesses, and they took this and got way better, and they've distributed it through their whole organization because they saw so much value in it. And so just really learning how to step into your version of genius. And that's what this is going to show you. And, how can I serve? And like, that's again, I want to look at other people for inspiration, not replication. And just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it won't work. And don't be, married to the original decision either. Maybe you start out, helping people, be better at, baseball, but that morphs into, helping new moms somehow. I don't know, like, just, really just following kind of the natural thread and see where it takes you. But you can never go wrong by leaning into, your most authentic, highest version, because it's really interesting when you do that, because you're the only one of you. Like nobody else is going to show up the way you show up. And it doesn't mean it's going to be like every day you're at the unicorn ranch, hanging out with horses on purple tails and horns in their head. But it's a pretty sweet deal when you're being true to your most authentic self, because that's where you find the magic. And that's how you create miracles in your life. And the really cool thing about miracles is like they compress the need for time. The things we think are going to take a long time suddenly just happen. That's a miracle, right? And it's really, really special when, you're kind of creating those on demand. And that's what you get when you're being really true to, your natural genius.
That's 100% right. I want to back up just a little bit. Right before you started talking, you actually mentioned something about working with 7-figure CEOs, and you're able to convert some of their problems into solutions through the Strengths Finders. Could you tell us a story about an example? Yeah.
So one of the CEOs that I'm lucky enough to work with, we've been working together for now, 3 years, and his number one strength is competition, and competition in the balcony is great. It's like, hey, we're gonna win, we're gonna get the championship. It's gonna be awesome. Competition in the basement is like, I'm gonna win at all costs. If I have to stand on your throat to do it, no problem. And this is his words, not mine. He's like, man, I was in the basement when we met. We started working together, and it was so cool just getting him to see, like, hey, man, when you're showing up this way, this is kind of like how it's landing on people. And this is also, completely taking you away from what you just told me you wanted. So we spent some time on, hey, what do you want? Why do you want it? And like by doing this, you're going like this way, and this is going this way. And just that simple insight, right? That's how you get people to change, right? Insight, sight from within. Like, so I tell you, you may hear it, maybe not, but it's probably not going to last because we're habitual creatures, right? But when you see it differently internally, like that's how you get instant change. That was a miracle, right? 40 plus years of being this one way. And in an instant, he saw what better looks like. And his life is so much different and so much less stress. And he's got so many more of the things he wants. And it's trickling down through the whole organization. Like he's got so many phenomenal leaders inside of there. And, myself and some of the coaches that support me get to help all these really cool people, and seeing all these transformations of people who are just like unlocking new levels and versions of themselves. And like their company they have 7 different pretty big departments in the company. And they went from 7 different departments rowing in 7 different directions, sometimes more than that somehow. But to really on the same page, and, people that are showing up for each other that are across departments, and just like no more silos. And like, it's pretty cool, man. They're going as individuals, they're going as a team, like I was talking about earlier. And like, man, it's just really phenomenal to get to, be a part of something like transformation like that. And, just internally and externally, the footprint they're making on the world, like everybody is better off for the CEO just making a better decision because he gets it right. Gandhi said it, be the change you want to see. And, it's amazing. It's really, really cool. I'm grateful that that's what I get to do and how I get to serve.
Kevin, that's an incredible story. How did you, I guess a follow up to that is, how did you get him from, you said his strength was competition. How do you get him from the basement to the balcony?
Yeah. I mean, there was a couple of conversations involved, of course, but really it's just about, good coaching is not managing. It's not telling people what to do, right? Like that's not going to work. And so just asking questions and creating that coaching environment for him in a safe space where, we could get his words out in front of him, get really clear on, and the two best questions you can ever ask yourself: what do I want and why do I want it? What am I passionate about right now, right? And then why? How am I mixing generosity into this? What's the purpose? And we got really clear on that and really clear on, what types of things move him towards that, what types of things take him away from that, and just asking questions like, hey, there's a document called The Balcony in the Basement. It looks like a thesaurus, basically. All the strings are listed. And it's like, here's your balcony, here's your basement. And I was like reading through them, like, hey, read me this one. Like the ones I know that you're on the basement on, like I'm going to have you read. I'm not going to say that, right? And like, what do you think after reading that? It's just awareness. Like, man, I think I'm in the basement, all these, like, how do I get out of the basement? Stop making it all about you. Like, well, okay, how do I do that? Like, well, what do they need? Like, what do they love? And, just talking and asking questions like, hey, because the three questions people are asking of the leader, right? Number one, like, do you like me? Like we're all kind of asking that of any leader, right? So if I feel like you don't like me, I definitely don't feel safe, right? And then, like the next one is like, can I trust you? Because then if I can't trust you, like I'm not going to be safe. I'm not going to be vulnerable. And the last one, can you help me get what I want, right? But if you don't ever ask me questions, you don't satisfy those at all, right? If you don't ask me questions, I don't feel like what's important to me is important to you. And there's like a disconnect and I don't really care, right? I'm not going to go around stealing things from the office and starting fires necessarily, but I'm probably not going to show up on the weekends and put in the extra effort, because like you don't even care, right? I don't even know if you know my name. Like you walk by and you look at me, you said, what's up once. Like you yelled at me that one time when I didn't do something with TPS reports, or whatever, right? It's like just really teaching people to, again, like seeing that we're also different with our strengths builds so much empathy and understanding. Empathy is one of the strengths on Strength Finders. And I'll see that at 34 a lot. And it's pretty low for the CEO I was just talking about. And I'm like, he's like, is that bad? I'm like, yep, means like you're a serial killer, no empathy whatsoever. Like, no, it just means you're not super empathetic. My brother's is 34, like it's just not a lot of empathy. It doesn't mean you can't. It's not a weakness at the bottom. At the bottom, it's just your least expressed strength. Like harmony is 34 for me. It means I can't get along with anyone ever. Like, no, that's not what it means. Like, it just means like I move so fast. I'm not always waiting for everybody to see what I'm seeing. And like, it's okay. I can still do it.
That's incredible. So I gotta ask, do you have a book that you recommend on this? This is a book, right? Strengths Finder 2.0.
Yeah, they have a book. I haven't. It's been years since I've read it. Usually when people read it, they seem pretty turned on by it. You can just go on and purchase it. But as pick a favorite book is like pick a favorite kid. I love to read. Gosh, what did I read recently? I read The Leader and the Coach by Steve Chandler recently. He just came out with that. And I really like that because he wrote it in conjunction with, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he used to be the CEO of the NASDAQ and the CEO of the New York Stock Exchange. And they wrote like in tandem. One would write one chapter and one wrote another. And they just talked about the importance of, as a leader, like wherever you are, also, bringing coaching into that and not just managing, telling people what to do, but inspiring and empowering. That's the goal, right? Like if I inspire, I stimulate to action, empower, I give you the knowledge or tools of what to do about it, right? And like that's like what a gift to give to somebody. So that would probably be a great one for lots of people out there listening to check it out.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that. And do you have a piece of advice for someone who's looking to get started into coaching or leadership or just any area of your expertise?
Yeah, I think one of the best things that you can do is just learn the simple skill of being kind more than you're right. Like when you're thinking about yourself and what's going on around you, it's not about being right about, what's not working or whatever. Or when you're in a conversation with other people, it's not about being right. It's like just being kind, and kind's like grace. And like, am I choosing love over fear? And, like you want to be new in anything. It's like find somebody that, you look up to that resonates with you. And find either a mentor or a coach for yourself. Like I've spent, I think, 6 figures on coaching in the past year and a half for myself, because I understand every time I get coached, I go so much further, so much faster. I literally quantum leap down the road. And, like even if you maybe don't have the resources to go out and spend, on a coach, you can find mentors and books. Like that's such a easy place to go and get somebody's like, expertise and genius distilled down to a couple hundred pages and just apply.
That's incredible, right? It's decades worth of experience to condense into just a few hours on Audible if you go that route. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. And Kevin, last question I have for you is, where can our audience get in touch with you? This has been a great interview.
Sure. Kevin Kepple, whatever platform, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you like to go. Shoot me a DM if something stood out. Happy to answer any questions or help you any way I can. Just love being a part of the solution. So I'm grateful for you and grateful for your show, Vijay. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And it's been great having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. I'll put all this in the show notes for everyone that's listening. Kevin, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Vijay.
Hey, it's Vijay. If you liked this video, you are going to love this video. Make sure you click it, leave questions in the comments, and I'm here to help however I can. Hope you have a great day.